So the best thing that I did for my personal development in my 20s was to go traveling, to go and spend time with other people in other cultures, to be the odd one out, to analyze prejudices that I developed in the environment that I've been brought up in. And until you really get out there in the world, you don't really have a way of understanding what you're missing. You don't know what you don't know. So the whole game of becoming successful depends on frame of reference. So what is your frame of reference? Now that can be related to the specific area that you want to be great in. So for example, as a strength coach, my frame of reference changed when I took on the Poliquin education. When I started to have conversations with Ben Patrick in 2018, again, my perspective on what strength training is and how it works changed. So my frame of reference shifted. But one of the best ways that you can get a free education in who you are and what you're missing is to go traveling, and you'll understand, okay, this is how I feel about rich people, this is how I feel about poor people, this is how I feel about different cultures, this is how I react in these situations, when I'm lost, when I need to get help. There's so many challenges that come up, and I was doing it without a smartphone, so it's probably a little bit different now. I traveled on a shoestring budget through Latin America for a number of years. Like in my 20s, I probably had 3 years or so in Latin America. I taught English over there, so I had the experience of getting a job and working at educational institutions. I worked sort of within a company. I went and found my own work. I had a few different roles that I played. All that stuff, like I made $3 an hour when I was teaching English in Ecuador. But that was the best money that I'd made in a while, because I was used to sleeping on floors and making no money and only spending my savings. I could live on the amount of money that I was making there. I couldn't save a lot to travel, but I could live on that money. So if you're looking for a free education, if you'd like to expand your horizons, one of the best things that you can do is to travel. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and visit another country like I did and sort of be on the road for a long time. Part of the reason why I did that for so long was because I couldn't find what I was looking for. I couldn't find anyone who was living in a way that I wanted to emulate. I couldn't find the solutions to the challenges that I was facing. Like, what is the meaning of what we're doing? Why are these problems not being solved that I see in humanity? Why, health system, the education system, people working jobs that they don't really want to work for 40 years, 50 years. Why is it like this? Why is there so much wasted labor? You go to all through Latin America, all through Asia, especially, the people sitting around selling knickknacks, the same crap, mostly made in China, just absolute junk, and people are just sitting there selling that, hoping to sell a few trinkets. That is a huge waste of human potential. A generation ago, those people were on farms, and maybe the farm life was harder at the whim of the weather and all those things, but there was some productivity there. There was at least something of value being produced in food, real food. So I was wrestling with all that stuff, and I didn't feel like I was already on the path to be a strength coach, right? I'd had work experience in my very early 20s as a strength coach with the Parramatta Eels in Australia, and then the London Broncos. I did massage and strength work. I was the assistant there at the London Broncos, ended up running the strength program. I couldn't settle in that world with all these questions running around my head. So the way that I went about answering the questions was to get out in the world and ask people. And I hitchhiked a lot. I spoke to a lot of truck drivers. I spoke to a lot of people who were in the civil wars. In Latin America, there were a lot of civil wars. Most countries had some sort of conflict between kind of rich and poor, between different ideologies. That is a great education. That is really a great education. So the number one thing to do in your 20s is to expand your frame of reference. Whether you do that through travel or whether you do that by connecting with people who have different perspectives and can give you a different perspective on how you might achieve some of your goals and who you can have conversations with, meaningful conversations, that is extremely valuable. I would also, if I was doing this again, go and spend time with people who are doing things that I would like to do. So this doesn't, for a lot of you, you may not be asking these bigger political questions about the world and economic power and those sorts of things that I was trying to understand. But whatever the questions are that are running around in your mind, like that is what you're meant to work on. And so if you can find a way to go and spend time with other people, I would highly suggest that. So like the idea of kind of couch surfing, a lot of people will say, yeah, like I'll have a coffee with you. If you're in the strength training world, you may be able to say, like, let's, spend a weekend. Can I come for the week? Can I shadow your sessions? In a gym environment, it's quite easy to get that kind of work experience. Some other kinds of work, it's probably not as simple if someone's doing like an office job or whatever, but the fastest way to expand that frame of reference is to get in the environment that you think you want to be in. So that would be the biggest piece of advice. Now you can do that through Zoom calls, but ideally you go and meet face to face. You travel and you spend time with people who are doing the things that you want to do. So I hope that was valuable. I'd love to hear about your experiences if you did get out, and it's not really like tourist traveling, backpacking in that sense. It's more so a version of vagabonding or exploration. But I'd love to hear, what experiences have you had with that, with getting out in the world? What have been the most powerful influences for you on expanding your frame of reference? And was that life enhancing? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's speak soon.